What's up, beautiful people? What's up? What's up? This is your boy Ramsey, also known as LeVar Kemp, the editor-in-chief of Snub Magazine. I'm super excited today. Welcome to the Sit Down. Super excited today. We have our special guest today, Mr. Raheem Devaughn. We're super excited about that. Thank you to everybody that's joining us. Thank you to everybody that's been supporting us. We're on season 2, and this is our second episode where we've been hitting it off strong. Last week was Vivian Green. And like I said, this week is Mr. Raheem Devaughn. We're waiting for him to come in right now. So once he comes in, we will begin. Thank you guys. Thank you again for joining us. Hey everybody. Thank y'all for joining. Thank you for joining. Once again, today we have a very special guest. Mr. Raheem Devaughn will be joining us on the Sit Down. Super excited about that. 3-time Grammy nominated artist. Hey Shayna. Hey Debony. I think our guest has just came in. Let's bring him in. What's going on, sir? How you doing?
All is well.
Good, good. Thank you so much for joining us today here at Snub Magazine on the Sit Down. We greatly appreciate it.
Indeed. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, like I tell all my guests that come on the show, this is just a conversation. I'm not going to put it in a whole interview aspect. It's just me and you having dialect right now. All
Absolutely.
right. All
Absolutely.
right. All right. So, tell the people. I always let my guests introduce themselves on how they want to be introduced. Some of us already know who you are. So, why don't you tell the people who you are?
I mean, these days, um, it's simply, well, I mean, if we're gonna do it right, some of them call me the R&B hippie neo soul rock star, aka Sue Cooler Jones, aka Mr. Spanky Long Time, aka Mr. Jiggy, Mr. Conscious, Pokey Temptation, Lip God. These days, I could just go lyrically by the name of the Love King of R&B, keeping it soulful always, Raheem Devaughn.
There you go. I think you had the best one so far. You just gave a whole list. So let's jump right into it. So let's talk about the beginning of you coming into this game. Tell us what it was like because it's different now. How people are coming into the music world. Can you give us a little bit of the history of you coming into the music world?
I mean, when my first album dropped, there wasn't platforms like Instagram, Clubhouse, you know, Twitter. I don't think Twitter even existed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When it dropped, it was kind of like MySpace coming out of the MySpace days, or what have you. So, it was just different. There were record stores. People walked in and bought physical copies of units. It was, that was on its way out.
Right.
Digital world was taking over. There were platforms like Napster, where people would be able to get the music. Like, it was just a different climate, than it is now. It's actually probably a lot easier once you really, because there's so many different ways that you can market and promote yourself. And what,
Definitely.
you know what I mean? So it's a different climate now. It's actually a lot easier. Like, you really ain't got no excuse, if
Right.
especially if you're a hustler, you can really get a grip on how these things work.
Definitely. And I was actually speaking to some artists too, and I told them though, like I still remember like wanting to wait for that moment to go to actually like a record store, go to a CD store just to buy the hard copy of it. Now you have iTunes, literally you say, hey, it's dropping at midnight. Everybody can just get up and just press the button and they got the album. So
Yeah,
uh,
you know,
yeah, I definitely get what you're saying on that. Um, what is something that was a challenge for you coming into this industry?
um, probably the fact that I knew I had a very grown, sexy, mature sound The fact that I understood music was changing sonically, and I was going to have to stick to my guns about how I wanted to be received, the type of music that I wanted to make. Um, Understanding that what I did, there's longevity in it, but it was going to be an uphill battle. People didn't know how to really, the labels and the powers that be didn't know how to really take to me in the building. Some of them, how to market me, you know what I mean? Based on, what I look like, how I dress versus how I sounded, you
Right.
know. So there was just a lot of that, that um, I probably would have took more thought. I don't have any regrets, but I definitely probably would have took more thought into the styling and the packaging of what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? Because now I understand that um, perception is reality, so it affects. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How it hits. You know what I mean? How throwing on a suit or what have you. The look of it and the packaging is everything. You know, I mean nothing supersedes the sound of. You
Right.
know, but yeah, it was just that. I had to I had to brand my music because
Right.
I didn't want the wrong type of branding. You know what I mean? And that's where the tag back then, the R&B hippie neo soul rock star came from. Because with the first album, Love Experience album, if you really listen to the album, it was a lot of different elements
Right.
uh, involved in that body of work. Um, you had the conscious element with records like Love Experience, Until, Catch 22, and Who, which those records had absolutely nothing to do with
With
like
the
or your
right.
you know. But then you had records that spoke to intimacy, like Believe and Love and Black Love, like Believe. Ask yourself the question: is it possible? You had records that had a little more of an R&B feel to them. Then you had records that were um, more of a soul element. You know what I'm saying? A lot
Right.
of so when you take all and there was the rock influence with records like Who and Cadillac in particular. You know, so you take all those things up and throw them in a gumbo, and it was like I thought about it one. This kind of just hit me like R&B hippie, neo soul rock star. You know what I mean? Like and like I said, nowadays it's just the Love King of R&B, soulful R&B, however you want to word it. But I understood early coming to the game that if you were not able to brand your music and give it um, the proper definition of what you thought it was, you could be misunderstood, and the powers that be would put some type of branding on it that might not that you might not agree with as an artist.
Definitely. I think that speaks a lot of volume, that you're speaking about that, because I mean the longevity that you have in this industry, you had to think about it way before, like, oh, what's my sound gonna be, or how I'm gonna go this route, and to take that risk. That's kind of a risk that some artists aren't willing to take. They just want to stick to one way about it. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty dope thing to say. So let's talk about recently. November 20th is gonna be a big day for you. You're gonna be releasing your next album, What a Time to Be in Love. And you just dropped your single, Mr. Midnight. Can you tell us about how that album came about?
It was a record that was conceived during the pandemic. Big shout out to my colleagues, my man KP. It started out with a phone conversation. We had been toying around with the idea of doing a project together. You know what I mean? Working with artists that I'm working with. And I said, before we jump off into all of that, I think it'd be good for me to be the guinea pig for that. Since I've met the colleagues, I've been in love with their production. They've been a part of previous projects that I put out, you know, on previous records, and we got a lot of stuff in the vault too that's like unreleased. So it's kind of like, yo, let's put an album out together. Like, what would it take? And we just kind of just like mobbed up, and the rest of it just really happened organically. Some of the records were already recorded already, so it just really just had to take them out of the vault. In fact, some of them were even actually mixed already. It just need to be mastered. Some of the records I recorded like in real time, like right now. You know what I mean?
Mm,
As I got comfortable, coming back out of the house with the pandemic and making sure that the studio was, up to par and had been properly sanitized and all that type of stuff. Once I got through the anxiety of that,
all right.
um, like, yeah, we you know, we locked in, you know. My following, Love Queen Nation, the IG family, um, spent a lot of nights with me, you know, actually watching me make it, like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So they were like part of the process, which was like really dope too. You know what I mean? So it's like they're not they were there and watched the process. So they're waiting on the records and waiting to hear it and play it back to back and all of that. So it's been great, man. You know, it's very the creative process is very organic. Like I don't write lyrics down and stuff like that. It's been like that for some years, probably actually like 2 decades, you know. And it happens rather quickly. You know, it's very improvisational and in real time.
Definitely. And as far as this album, um, is it going to be going off of a storyline? Because you know some albums are given a storyline, or some is it how you going with that route?
I want to say it's a storyline, but it's a solid body of work that's narrated from beginning to end. You know, it involves a spoken word poet. Shout out to Rob Brown. You know, originally from Philly, but you know, really made a huge mark. You know, in the DMV area, phenomenal writer and poet. I work with, you know, I work with her. I've been unveiling her through my movement for some time now, but she already has her own movement as well. You know, writing and film and television and different things, voiceover work, stuff like that. And we got something coming too down the pipeline that's gonna be real sexy for, you know, for the single women and for couples. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a narration that's kind of happening. It's one of those projects that when you get the project, you want to listen from beginning to end before you start to pick it apart or dissect.
Right.
Like, these my favorite songs, or these are the songs I put on my playlist. You know, I definitely encourage the listener, the music lover, to absorb it from beginning to end, listen to all the words, you know, enjoy the playlist, the whole nine. You know, I put a lot of work and thought. We put a lot of work and thought into that.
And as far as Mr. Midnight, like, how did you know that is the single I'm going to drop? Or any of your singles that you drop? How do you know, hey, this is the one? Or like, what's the process of you saying, you know what, we got it?
Um, Man, it's I just you know you just know those records. I mean, we had other options on singles. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, it's some other singles on the record. You know what I mean? But Mr. Midnight just hit different. You know what I'm saying? Um, for me, every record on the album hits different. It's a
Right.
different emotion. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I feel like because of the tempo and just like Mr. Midnight. When I listen, when after I did the, you know, I got sometimes I have to step outside of myself as the
Right.
artist.
Right. Right.
You know, being the head of an A&R at a label, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have to step outside of myself, and I have to go from artist mode to consumer mode, right?
Right.
And when I'm in consumer mode, I have to think from an A&R standpoint, a tempo, BPM, um, simplicity, you know, what's going on right now, you know, versus what I'm doing and where it fits and the scope of, you know, radio, which, you know, terrestrial radio, satellite radio. And now, more importantly, it's like playlists. Playlist is where
Right.
it's at. You know, if you're not on the right playlist, you're not popping. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
So I had to really get an understanding of like that world. You know what I mean? And I'm constantly evolving musically, but I'm also getting older as an
Right.
artist. So when you get around right where I'm at in the game, it can go one or two ways. Either they're writing you off as
Right.
you has been or you were popping, or you can solidify as an artist that you here to stay forever. And that's I'm in go mode. I'm in forever mode with like
Definitely.
right now. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Undeniably so. And I think that this record is going to speak to that. And so from a business standpoint, you know, from an A&R standpoint, I felt like, you know, this was the wise move, you know what I'm saying, in terms of like the single.
Definitely, and I see your fans and everything down the bottom. They actually quoting the lyrics right now as you're speaking. A lot of them are just going. I just see lyrics going back and forth, just going, going, going. So clearly,
Uh,
you hit it on the mark anyway. Because I mean, for the people to know lyrics, and like for me, when I listen to it, it's a vibe. It gives off a vibe to it, you know, and it was a dope piece of work, I must say.
Thank you. Thank
No
you.
problem. So here on the sit down, I know we got a little bit of time left.
Yeah.
But here on the sit down, we ask three questions to
Okay.
our guests that come on. You give us the best answer on how you feel about it, and then yeah, we'll just go from there.
All
All
right,
right. All right. So the first three things, what are three words that basically describe who Raheem is?
cool. Spiritual, um, euphoric, and timeless.
Okay. Those are three words that nobody's used. So we'll go with the word euphoric. Why did you choose that word? Give us why you chose it.
Music is euphoric. You know what I'm saying? Like if it was if my slow jams had to be a be some type of energy, it'd probably be like, you know, my slow jam. I want my records. I want my bedroom bangers to feel like you know. I want them to feel like I want them to feel euphoric. You know, I want them to feel um orgasmic in the air sense. You know what I'm saying? But I also want them to feel um tasteful and poetic and yet still classy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Right.
Edgy, you know,
Right.
grown and managed. You know what I mean? Um, so for that reason, I choose euphoric.
Definitely. Okay. Okay. So if you could be a person, past or present, for a day, who would you want to be and why?
Mm, really good question, man. Anybody past the present, who would I want to be? Why?
Yeah.
Um, man, crazy. Golly, man, that's a God.
It's funny because every time we throw that question, it just put everybody like we spin it. Everybody's like, "Wait a minute, how you just asked that question?" But
You know what? You know what I'm gonna go with? I'm gonna go with Prince.
okay,
Prince Roger Nelson.
okay. Why would you choose him?
Just because Prince was like an ultimate rock star, man. You know what I mean? And that's not to take it. That's not to take away from like Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
But Prince equally like he was a pop. He was pop like Mike, but he was a rock star. He was a black rock star to me.
right. Yeah,
Like
definitely. I think a lot of people saw that.
my connection with rock. I love rock music. I like I would like to know what it would felt like to play the guitar.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, and I'm any instruments as well.
Mm.
But he was different, man. Because
Yeah.
I've heard stories about how like at 17, 16, you know, I think when he did his demo, or like you know, he was doing everything, writing, producing the records, mixing, engineering. You know
He
what I
was
mean?
he was a passionate individual, very
Yeah,
passionate about everything he did.
and I too am passionate about like what I do, and I just wonder what that would have been like. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Definitely.
It's kind of just a glimpse of that. You know, and we had to
Got
doing the purple rain time too.
right, right. A classic, right? A classic time right there. All right. And what do you tell people who are trying to break into this industry? This industry is so different now. Like you've seen it evolve in many different aspects. What do you tell someone that's trying to step into this industry? Like, you know what? I look up to him. How do you tell them?
That you know we all energy, man. You know, don't be fooled by the perception. You know, manifest. You know your reality of what you want to do, and you'll be fine. You know who you are before you get into this. You know what I'm saying? Like this ain't this business, this game ain't for the. It's not for the weak. You know, it's not for the weak. It's not for the easily. It's not for the follower.
Right.
Like it's not. You know, and it's not for the follow or the like. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if all this shut down tomorrow, you know, I got great music out there.
Right.
You know, and I would have to figure out how to hustle it and connect it with people globally. I would have to figure out what would be the move. You know what I mean? So, um, you know, what we do as artists and what we do for the culture is pandemic proof.
Right.
And it's forever. You know what I mean? So, um, you know, make sure you choosing the right lane for you. Make sure you make sure you take a lot of thought into um, who you want to be as an artist and how you want it to be perceived and what your message want to be, and choose the route of longevity. You
Right.
know, quick the $5 high. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a it's a motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like you want to be around for. You really want to do this. You want to be around forever. You want your ultimately you want your music, you want your catalog and what you create to outlive you.
Definitely. And the last thing, is there any projects left, or something you're about to step into, something you could tell us out here that we can know ahead of time?
We got man, we've been it's so much music I'm sitting on. Like, I mean, projects left. Like, you know, I mean this humbly. I have enough quality and quantity of music to put out an album for the next 6 to 9 months for the
Right.
next 15 years.
All right. So,
If I
well,
back in the studio, you know what I'm saying?
right.
Now the scary part is that I do understand that times change, that so I make music in real time too, because it's always something to talk about. Or I'll hear a beat and it's just like I'll hear the whole song. Or now I'm in the stage where I kind of been challenging myself to say, like, what kind of songs have I not made?
Mm,
It maybe what key? Maybe it's the key of the song that I have never sang in, or maybe it's something that maybe it's a modulation that needs to happen. Like, I'm in a place where I understand um, that it's cool to have trends. It's cool to to have simplicity, but trends will never outlive the formula of what I know. You know what I mean? Of the culture, of what we do. So I've been more focused on the master of being a master of the formula. You know what I'm saying? And then once I got that, it's like I can just kind of just do whatever I want. You know what I mean? I can do whatever I want whenever I want.
definitely.
How far I want to take it. How long I want it to be. You know.
Well, Raheem, I definitely appreciate you coming with us on a sit down today. Hopefully, we get you one day over here at Snub. We can get it together.
Absolutely.
Uh, but yeah, just thank you again. We appreciate thank everybody that joined us today, and keep doing your thing, man. You have great work, dope work that all of us are listening to.
Indeed, man. Thank you for your platform. Just a gentle reminder to everybody out there, once again, brand new album, What a Time to Be in Love, will be available on all digital platforms at midnight, November 20th. Of course, you know where to follow me at on IG. The Twitter is the same as well, at Raheem underscore Devaughn. Make sure you follow me on Clubhouse app as well, at Raheem Devaughn. Facebook.com/Raheem Devaughn. YouTube.com/Raheem Devaughn, and check out the new singles. There are some other records that have been floating around that's doing extremely well on stream as well. Make sure you stream that Marvin Used to Say, which is the
Definitely,
lead single, so you can get your conscious kick. Of course, Mr. Midnight, and there's a new record, Twilight, that just went live. From the album on November 13th, so you can enjoy that now too. And yeah, man, thank you for your platform. I look forward to doing it again.
definitely. All right, you have a good one. All right,
Love, peace.
all right, peace.